Okay, today we are going to talk about different kinds of shapes. In the first shapes that we are going to talk about are quadrilaterals. Okay, what do you notice about the beginning part of the word quadrilaterals? That's right, it says quad, which means four. So a quadrilateral is any shape with four sides. Okay, so I want you to think of any shapes that you can that have four sides. So let's look at a rectangle. Okay, a rectangle has four sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at a square. A square also has four sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at a rhombus. A rhombus also has four sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at a trapezoid. A trapezoid also has four sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's look at a triangle. What do we notice about a triangle? A triangle has 1, 2, 3 sides. So a triangle cannot be a quadrilateral because a quadrilateral has to have four sides. So these are the main three shapes that we're going to talk about in this unit: a rectangle, a square, a rhombus, and a trapezoid. And remember, all of them have four sides. Now, the next term that I want you to know is called parallelogram. Okay, and a parallelogram is any shape with two parallel lines. Okay, so a parallelogram is any shape with two parallel lines. And it's important that we know that parallel lines are two lines that are the same distance apart and never touch. So the sign for parallel is that. Okay, they're the same distance apart, but they never touch. That's really important to know. So let's see if all of these shapes up here, all these quadrilaterals, are also parallelograms. Remember, they have to have lines that are the same distance apart and never touch. Okay, so let's draw a rectangle again. Okay, these lines are parallel, same distance apart, they never touch, and these lines are parallel. They're the same distance apart and they never touch. Let's look at our square. These lines are parallel, they're the same distance apart and they never touch. And these lines opposite each other are parallel. They're the same distance apart and they never touch. Let's look at a rhombus. Not the best rhombus, but that's okay. These lines are parallel, same distance apart, never touch. And these lines are parallel, same distance apart and never touch. And remember, we said that a triangle was not a quadrilateral because it had to have four sides. So we know that a parallelogram, a triangle can also not be a parallelogram. So the last shape that we have to go to is our trapezoid. Let's see if that is a parallelogram as well. Okay. When you look at this shape, you see a set of parallel lines right here, right? Same distance apart, never touch. And you want to think that these are also parallel, but let's talk about why they are not. If I extended this line right here, and I extended this line right here, what ends up happening right here? Those lines end up crossing each other. And remember, parallel lines have to be the same distance apart and never touch. If I extended this line on the trapezoid, I have where those lines connect. So a trapezoid is not a parallelogram because those lines eventually intersect. if I took my square and I kept extending these lines, they never touch. They remain parallel. Same thing with this line. Parallel to this line. It never touches. They stay parallel the same time. This line is parallel to this line, and this line is parallel to this line. It's the same thing with the rectangle and the rhombus. But with the trapezoid, when I extend the line, they end up touching. So we know that a trapezoid is not a parallelogram. It is a quadrilateral. It does have 4 sides, but it does not have 2 sets of parallel lines to make it a parallelogram. So that's really, really, really important that you remember. Let's talk about 2 other shapes here. Let's talk about a square, and let's talk about a rhombus. Okay. When looking at those 2 shapes, there are some similarities. Okay. We can say that they are quadrilaterals. And why are they quadrilaterals? That's right, because each shape has 4 sides. So we know that they're quadrilaterals. Okay. Are they parallelograms? Well, this line is parallel to that line. This line is parallel to that line. This line is parallel here. This line is parallel here. So we know that a rhombus and a square are both quadrilaterals, and they are both parallelograms. Also, looking at a square and a rhombus, we know that all sides are equal. It's not like a rectangle, right? A rectangle has these 2 sides that are equal in length, and then these 2 sides that are equal in length. But a square and a rhombus, all sides are equal in length. So we know that that is a characteristic that is the same between them. And when we talk about shapes, we don't want to say equal, we want to say congruent. So we know that all sides are congruent. And the sign for congruent is that. Okay? So those are all the things that we know that are the same about a square and a rhombus. Let's talk about what is different. Okay? There's one real different thing between a square and a rhombus, and that is called a right angle. Okay. Some of you may know what a right angle is. If you look at the shape, if I can get it here, of my hand, my L, okay, everybody put your L up. You will notice that this line comes straight down and goes straight across. That is where there is a right angle. If I bend my thumb a little bit, this angle is no longer right anymore. Okay, the angle changed. To have a right angle, it needs to be a perfectly straight line down and then a perfectly straight line across. So this is what a right angle would look like. Okay, that's a right angle. If we go back up to our square and our rhombus, perfectly straight line down, perfectly straight line across. That's a right angle. Straight down, straight across, right angle. Straight down, straight across, right angle, and another right angle here. But if we look at our rhombus, are these lines straight or are they slanted? That's right, they're slanted. So a rhombus does not have any right angles. It's like what I did with my L when I kind of pinched it and slanted it. It's not there anymore. Right angle, not a right angle. So there's the difference right there. Remember, squares have right angles and rhombuses do not. It's important that you remember that a right angle measures 90 degrees. All right, that is all the information that you will need to know about geometric shapes to be successful.